I had just confirmed the wire transfer. $45 million for Mitchell Biosystems, the company I'd built over 40 years. The deal closed October 15th. Tonight, October 20th, was supposed to be a celebration. I was standing in the marble lobby of Catherine's, the finest restaurant in the city, when the young waiter blocked my path. His hands were shaking. "Mr. Mitchell," he whispered, "I saw your daughter. When your son-in-law distracted you, she took a vial from her purse and poured something into your wine." My blood turned to ice. I'd faced hostile takeovers and federal investigators. I knew how to think under pressure. I walked back to the table, knocked over a water glass, and in the chaos, I switched my wine with Jessica's. 15 minutes later, her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. "My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 68 years old, and for 3 years I've been a widower. That $45 million wasn't just a number. It was 40 years of my life, starting in a rented warehouse with 3 employees and a vision. Despite the success, I never changed. I still live in the same ranch house I bought with Catherine. I still drive my 7-year-old Silverado. Catherine was the smart one. She saw people with perfect clarity, and she never trusted Derek Harrison, my son-in-law. "He only looks at your bank account, Rob," she'd told me 6 months before the cancer took her. "He doesn't see Jessica. He sees a safety net." I'd laughed it off. "He loves her, Kathy. He's just ambitious." Catherine's been gone 3 years. Her words echo every time I see him. Jessica and Derek live beyond their means. Luxury cars, expensive clubs, vacations in places I've only seen in magazines. Derek runs some import-export operation, but I'm a numbers man. I know he's drowning in debt. My daughter changed after Catherine died. She grew distant, defensive, protecting him from me. But 6 months ago, when news of the Mitchell Biosystems acquisition leaked, they were suddenly present. "Dad, let us help organize your files." "Dad, are you sure your investments are structured correctly? Derek knows about this." I was lonely, desperate for connection. I mistook their greed for affection. But something Catherine had written kept nagging at me. 2 weeks before she passed, Catherine gave me a leather journal. "Don't read this until you need it," she'd said from her hospital bed. I'd tucked it away, unable to face it. Last week, after Derek's 3rd question about my shipping logistics, something clicked. I pulled out the journal and read it cover to cover. Catherine had been documenting concerns about Derek for months. Small lies, financial red flags, manipulation. One entry stopped me cold. "Rob, if you're reading this, something feels wrong. Trust that instinct. Derek isn't who he pretends to be. He's using Jessica. I've seen the way he studies you when you talk about the company. He's not interested in you. He's interested in what you've built. Please be careful. Jessica isn't lost. She needs her father, not his money. Love always, Kathy." I stared at those words for a long time. That's when I started paying attention. I'd also called Marcus Keller, my attorney, not for the acquisition, for something else. "Marcus, I need you to look into Derek. Quietly. Something's wrong." Marcus didn't ask questions. 2 weeks later, he had a file, offshore accounts, gambling debts, a shell company called DH Global Trading. It wasn't proof of a crime yet, but it was enough to make me careful. Tonight at Catherine's, their concern felt suffocating. The restaurant was crystal and white linen, Catherine's favorite place. Now, I was here with 2 people about to destroy everything. "Dad, you're a legend," Derek said, raising his glass. "To you, the man who built it all." Jessica smiled. "We're so proud of you, Daddy." But their eyes were hungry. "So, Dad," Derek leaned in, "with the company sold, what happens to the infrastructure? The shipping routes, the climate-controlled containers?" Strange question. Mitchell Biosystems transported sensitive biological compounds, heavily regulated, heavily tracked, not like shipping sneakers. It's all part of the acquisition, Derek. The new corporation takes over. Why? He shrugged. Seems like a waste of good logistics. My phone vibrated. Bonham's Swiss Bank. The final confirmation. I excused myself. I walked into the lobby. The call was brief. Mr. Mitchell, we confirm the $45 million has cleared. Congratulations. I hung up. 40 years, validated in 2 minutes. I turned around, and that's when I saw the young waiter, maybe 24, immaculate uniform, but his hands shaking so badly he could barely hold his tray. Mr. Mitchell, he whispered. Sir, my name is Tyler. I'm sorry, but I have to tell you something. I can read people. This kid wasn't lying. He was terrified. What is it, Tyler? Sir, I was refilling water behind your table. Your son-in-law pointed to that painting, asked your daughter a loud question about the artist. It felt staged, making sure you looked away. My blood turned cold. The moment you both looked away, your daughter was fast. She took a small brown vial from her purse, unscrewed it, and dumped white powder into your wine glass. Then she swirled it once and put it back. 3 seconds maybe. White powder. Not liquid. Designed to dissolve. Poison? Too messy. Too traceable. This was something clinical. I looked Tyler in the eye. Are you certain? He nodded. Yes, sir. 100%. I saw her hide the vial in her napkin, then put it in her purse when you stood up. That's why I had to stop you. This kid had just saved my life. I pulled out $500. Tyler, you didn't see anything. Finish your shift. Go home. Never speak of this to anyone, but you just saved my life. If you ever need anything, call this number. I handed him my personal card. Sir, go, and thank you. He vanished. I stood alone for 10 seconds. My own daughter, my Jessica. Part of me wanted to believe Tyler was wrong. Maybe he'd misunderstood. Maybe it was sugar. Maybe, no. Tyler's eyes didn't lie, and Catherine's journal had warned me. The rage came then, not hot, but cold. The rage of a man who'd just lost his daughter to a monster wearing her face. But the CEO was in control now. I smoothed my jacket, composed my face, and walked back to the table. I sat down. The smell of truffle oil and seared scallops suddenly made me nauseous. Everything okay, Dad? Jessica asked, her smile radiant, the smile of someone who thought she'd just set a perfect trap. Just lawyers, always finding loose ends. I looked at my wine glass. The deep red Cabernet looked perfect, undisturbed. My mind raced back. Jessica's comment from last Tuesday. Dad, you've been so forgetful lately. You missed our dinner reservation. I hadn't missed it. They'd canceled and told me I got the day wrong. Derek's comment 3 days ago. Rob, you seem confused. Are you sure you're okay to manage all this money alone? It clicked into place. Not poison. Incapacitation. The powder was designed to mimic a stroke, create sudden confusion, make me look like I'd lost my mind right after securing $45 million. They wanted me declared incompetent. I needed to make the switch. Derek was telling a long story about Turkish textiles. Jessica hung on his every word, playing the adoring wife. They were so busy performing, they weren't watching. I waited. A waiter came to refill water. As he reached for Derek's glass, I jerked my arm. My elbow connected solidly. Ice water flooded the tablecloth and dripped onto Derek's expensive pants. Rob, honestly, Derek snapped, jumping back. Chaos for 5 seconds. Jessica gasped. Derek cursed. The waiter rushed in with napkins. In those 5 seconds, my hands moved with practiced precision. Right hand picked up my tainted glass. Left hand picked up Jessica's clean glass. I moved them out of the spill's path. When I set them back down, they were reversed. The lighting was dim. The chaos was disorienting. Jessica was too focused on Derek's performance to notice. It was done. I'm so sorry, Derek. I guess old age is catching up. Derek composed himself, sharing a knowing look with Jessica. They thought my clumsiness was the first sign. They thought their plan was working. They had no idea. The next 15 minutes were the longest of my life. I moved food around my plate. I listened to Derek brag about European expansion, and I watched Jessica. It started suddenly. She blinked hard, trying to clear fog from her vision. "Derek," she murmured, interrupting him. "Honey, the lights seem very bright." Derek chuckled, annoyed. "It's Catherine's, darling. Everything is bright." "No," Jessica said, her voice thicker. She put her hand to her temple. "Derek, I don't feel well." Derek's smile faded. "Jessica, stop. You've had one glass of wine." "I'm not—" She tried to shout, but it came out as a mumble. She tried to stand, pushing her chair back. "The room is spinning. Her eyes rolled back. She slumped sideways, hitting the velvet seat with a dull thud. Her arms began to twitch. Derek stared, frozen in pure panic. I dropped my napkin and stood, my face a mask of fatherly terror. "Oh my God, Jessica! Somebody call 911!" The entire restaurant went silent. Every eye was on our table. Derek was staring at his wife, his mouth half open. He wasn't moving toward her. He wasn't crying out. He was frozen, his mind processing not her collapse, but the collapse of his plan. I shoved my chair back. "My God, Jessica, help! My daughter, she's not breathing right!" I grabbed Derek's shoulder, shaking him. "Derek, do something. Call an ambulance." This snapped him out, but not like a loving husband. He didn't rush to Jessica. He tried to control the narrative. "No," Derek said, his voice sharp. He grabbed his phone but didn't dial. "No 911. She's fine. She's had too much to drink." I looked at him, feigned confusion turning to outrage. "Drunk? Derek, she's convulsing." "She does this, Rob," Derek said quickly, eyes darting. "She mixes anxiety medication with wine. It happens. It's embarrassing." He tried to pull her up by the arm. "We just need to get her home." He was trying to move her, away from EMTs who would run tests, away from an emergency room with toxicology reports. He needed his doctor. Dr. Walsh, the corrupt one. I saw Tyler watching from the service station, his face pale, eyes locked on mine. Derek turned to the manager. "I'm sorry. We'll take her. We're leaving." "He's in shock," I shouted. "He doesn't know what he's saying. She's not drunk. She barely touched her wine. She needs a doctor." Just as Derek was about to lift Jessica, Tyler stepped forward, phone already to his ear. "It's too late, sir," Tyler said to the manager. "I've already called 911. They said not to move her." Derek's head snapped toward Tyler. The look was murder. "You did what? You're fired. You have no idea what you've done." The manager stepped between them. "Mr. Harrison, the waiter did the correct thing. We're legally required to call for medical assistance." Derek's mask was gone. He looked trapped. He stared at me, chest heaving, and I saw his mind putting pieces together. The spilled water, the switched glasses, my sudden clumsiness. He knew. He didn't know how I knew, but he knew I had done this. The wail of sirens cut through the night. Paramedics rushed in, movements efficient. They ignored Derek's protests. "Sir, step back. Ma'am, can you hear me? What did she take?" "I don't know," Derek yelled. "It's her medication, for anxiety." "Which medication? We need a name." Derek froze. He couldn't say the name without incriminating himself. I don't know the name. She keeps it in her purse." They loaded her onto the gurney. She was unconscious, face pale and slack. For a second, I felt genuine pity. She was still my daughter. But she'd made her choice when she uncapped that vial. The restaurant was silent as we followed outside. I hunched over, playing the grieving father. My baby. Oh God, is she going to be okay? We reached the ambulance. That's when Derek grabbed my arm, grip like steel. He pulled me aside, his body blocking me from view. His voice was no longer panicked. It was venomous. "What did you do?" he hissed, face inches from mine. I let tears well in my eyes. I let my body tremble, a broken old man. "Me?" I whispered. "Son, what did she drink?" The emergency room at St. Jude's was controlled chaos. Bright lights, antiseptic smell, nurses moving like shadows. They wheeled Jessica into Trauma Bay 3. Derek followed, almost tripping. "She's allergic to shellfish," he shouted at the nurse. It must have been the scallops. He was building his false narrative. I hung back, playing my part. The shocked father, hands clasped. A young doctor pushed through the curtain, scrubs wrinkled but eyes sharp. "Mr. Harrison, I'm Dr. Patel. I need to know what your wife took." Derek stuck to script. "Shellfish allergy. Just give her an EpiPen." Dr. Patel ignored him. She shone a light into Jessica's eyes, lifted her arm. It dropped lifelessly. "Mr. Harrison, this is not anaphylaxis. Her airways are clear. No swelling. Her pupils are pinpoint. This is severe overdose. I need a full toxicology screen." Derek moved to block her. "No, I'm her husband. I refuse the tests. It's an allergy." His voice was too loud, bordering on hysterical. Dr. Patel didn't flinch. "Sir, your wife has severe neurological symptoms. If you obstruct my ability to diagnose, I will have security remove you. Am I clear?" Derek's face turned purple. He looked at me, eyes screaming for help. "Dad, tell her Jessica's fine." This was my moment. I stepped forward, voice trembling. "Doctor, please just save her. My son-in-law is in shock. He doesn't know what he's saying. Do whatever you have to. Please save my little girl." Dr. Patel nodded, dismissing Derek. "Thank you, Mr. Mitchell." She turned to the nurse. "Full tox screen, CBC, head CT, push Narcan, get her on saline, now." Derek slammed his fist against the wall, performative grief, but I knew it was rage. We were moved to the waiting room, hard plastic chairs, burnt coffee. Derek paced, phone pressed to his ear, whispering. I heard him mouth Walsh several times. He was trying to intercept results, control the narrative. But it was too late. The machine was in motion. An hour later, Dr. Patel returned. Her face was grim. She wasn't looking at Derek. She was looking at me. "Mr. Mitchell, the toxicology report came back. Your daughter has approximately 200 milligrams of olanzapine in her system, 10 times the maximum therapeutic dose." Derek, who'd been on the phone, froze. "Olan, what? I've never heard of it." "Olanzapine," Dr. Patel said sharply. "A potent antipsychotic. We use it for schizophrenia, severe bipolar disorder, not anxiety. A dose this high. I'm required to notify police. This looks like attempted suicide or something else." Derek started sputtering. "Suicide? No. She wouldn't. She's happy. We were celebrating." Dr. Patel held up a hand. "I need to explain something. In a healthy individual, a massive dose like this causes acute psychosis, slurred speech, neurological damage identical to stroke or rapid onset dementia." And there it was, the final piece. They weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to erase me, to make me look insane so Derek could take control of my $45 million and run before the federal audit exposed his smuggling operation. Derek was staring at the doctor, face ashen. He finally understood that Dr. Patel wasn't just diagnosing Jessica, she was describing the weapon they'd chosen. "Is she going to be okay?" Derek stammered, his act hollow. "We're pumping her stomach. She'll be very sick for days and placed under 72-hour psychiatric hold, but physically, she should recover." Dr. Patel looked at me with pity. "Mr. Mitchell, I'm so sorry. I'll give you two a moment." She left. The silence was heavy. Derek looked at me, eyes no longer full of rage, but dawning terror. The war had just begun. Derek collapsed into a chair, vibrating with toxic energy. I slumped across from him, burying my face in my hands, letting my shoulders shake. "Dad," Derek's voice was sharp. "Are you okay?" I looked up, letting him see tears. "I don't understand, Derek. Antipsychotics? Why would she have that? Does my daughter have schizophrenia? Have you been hiding this?" Perfect question. It gave him an escape route. He seized it. "I didn't want to tell you like this, Dad," he said, voice dropping into fake compassion. "We've been struggling. She's been seeing a doctor, Dr. Walsh. She must have confused her bottles. Wrong dose. Dr. Walsh." I filed the name away. Oh God, my poor girl. And the police. Why the police, Derek? "She's overreacting," Derek snapped, his mask slipping. "She doesn't understand. I'll handle it. I'm calling Dr. Walsh now. He'll come down and straighten this out." "Yes," I said, voice trembling. "Please, son. I need some air. I think I'm going to be sick." I staggered to my feet and pushed through the double doors. I didn't go to the bathroom. I hid in a small alcove by the vending machines, just out of sight, but close enough to hear. Derek burst out seconds later, phone to his ear. "Walsh, it's me. The plan is a disaster. She drank it. Jessica drank it." He stopped, listening. I could hear his breathing. "I don't know how. The old man. It doesn't matter. He's here acting confused and broken. But Walsh, he's here. He's not the one who took the drug." Another pause. Derek's face contorted. "Yes, she's stable. But they ran a tox screen. They know it's olanzapine. They're talking about psych hold, police reports. This is falling apart." He slammed his fist against the wall. "What do we do? The hearing is 8 a.m. tomorrow. That's in 5 hours. How are we supposed to get conservatorship over him if he's healthy and she's in the psych ward?" 8 a.m. The second piece of the puzzle. "No," Derek yelled. "No, you listen. You're in this deep. Your gambling debts aren't my problem. You were paid to handle the medical side. You get down to this hospital. You tell them Dr. Patel is wrong. You tell them you're her primary physician. You tell them she's unstable, been stealing his medication. I don't care what you say. Fix this." He paused, breathing like he'd run a marathon. "And you'd better be ready to testify at 8 a.m. He hung up, trying to regain composure. He straightened his jacket, took a breath. Then he turned and saw me. He froze, face going white. "Dad," he stammered. I stumbled forward, hand on my heart. "Derek, I heard you yelling. What's happening? Who is Walsh? What did he mean? Fix this." Derek's mind raced. He put his arm around my shoulder, gripped too tight, guiding me back. "Dad, you misunderstood. Dr. Walsh is Jessica's psychiatrist. I was angry at him because he failed her. He should have warned us she was unstable." "Unstable?" I whispered. "He thinks she might have done this on purpose, Dad. Suicide attempt. Maybe the stress of your new money. Maybe she felt inadequate. Brilliant and disgusting. He was planting the idea that my $45 million was the problem." "I need to go home, son," I whispered. "This is too much. My heart. I can't be here." Relief washed over his face. "Yes, Dad. You go home. Rest. You look terrible. I'll stay. I'll handle everything with Dr. Walsh. I'll call you." He practically pushed me toward the exit. "Take a cab. I'll pay." "Okay, son. Okay." I walked out, a frail old man trembling. The act held until the automatic doors closed. The second the night air hit my face, my back straightened. The trembling stopped. It was 3 a.m. I got in a cab. 47 Willow Crest Drive, I told the driver. Jessica and Derek's house. They kept a spare key under a dead fern by the back door. The house was dark. I let myself in, heart pounding, not with fear, but adrenaline. I knew exactly where to go. The home office. I sat at Jessica's white desk, turned on her laptop. No password. Arrogance. I searched her email for Walsh. The chain appeared. Dozens of messages between Jessica, Derek, and Dr. Stephen Walsh. I read them, and with every word, my blood ran colder. The plan was all there. Derek's smuggling operation using my shipping routes. Walsh's $180,000 gambling debt to Derek's shell company. The 8 a.m. conservatorship hearing. The olanzapine prescription under a false name. Even the dosage. 200 milliliters will induce acute psychosis within 20 minutes. They'd planned my destruction down to the minute. And the motive. Derek owed $2 million to a Turkish smuggling ring. Crypto investments gone wrong. The import business was a front. When that failed, he'd turned to my shipping lanes. My $45 million deal wasn't his goal. It was his death sentence. The acquisition triggered a mandatory IRS audit and FDA compliance review, both scheduled to begin December 1st. Either would expose Derek's piggybacking scheme. He couldn't stop the audit, but he could run from it, with my money. Then I saw the final email, sent yesterday. From Donovan and Associates LLC, subject, Emergency Conservatorship Petition, Robert Mitchell. Attached, petition.pdf. I clicked it. There was my life, reduced to a legal document. Petitioner Derek Harrison seeks emergency conservatorship over Robert Mitchell. Reasons: exhibiting signs of rapid onset senile dementia, paranoia, confusion, financial irresponsibility, supported by expert testimony of Dr. Stephen Walsh, who will attest to inability to manage his own affairs. Hearing: November 4th, 8:00 a.m., courtroom 3B. Today, in less than 5 hours. By 9 a.m., I was supposed to be a ward of the state, with Derek holding the keys to my kingdom. I sat in my truck in their driveway, gripping the wheel. My hands were shaking. I'd just read proof that my daughter, my only child, had tried to chemically erase my mind. Catherine's journal was on the passenger seat. I picked it up, traced the worn leather. She needs her father, not his money. But what if it was too late? What if the Jessica I'd known died years ago, replaced by this stranger who saw me as an obstacle? Part of me wanted to drive away. Let them have it. Let them destroy themselves. But I couldn't. Catherine wouldn't have walked away. She would have fought for Jessica even when Jessica wouldn't fight for herself. I dialed Marcus. I'm on my way. And Marcus? I want my daughter out of prison. Can you do that? Yes, but she'll pay another way. Good. She needs to learn what I should have taught her 20 years ago. I pulled into Marcus's garage at 4:30 a.m. He was already in his office, coffee brewing. I told him everything. The switch, the emails, the hearing at 8 a.m. Marcus had already been investigating quietly for 2 weeks. The offshore accounts, the gambling debts I'd asked him to find. Walsh is the weak link, Marcus said, reviewing records. $180,000 in gambling debts, all to Derek's shell company, DH Global Trading. This isn't conspiracy. It's slavery. He made one call. Morrison? It's Keller. Remember that favor? I need it. Courtroom 3B, 8 a.m. I'm handing you a federal smuggling case on a silver platter. He hung up and smiled coldly. They think they're walking into a family court hearing. They have no idea it's their execution. At 6 a.m., Derek called. His voice was syrup over panic. Dad, where are you? Dr. Walsh is coming to check on you. Please, just go home. I played the part. Confused, scared, exactly what his petition described. Okay, son, I need help. I'll go home. I hung up. Marcus smiled coldly. Let them ring an empty doorbell. We have a hearing to attend. 7:45 a.m. The county courthouse hallway hummed with fluorescent lights, casting greenish glows on cheap linoleum. Marcus and I stood at the end of the hall, watching the door to courtroom 3B through the wire mesh window. Derek was pacing. Dark charcoal suit, bloodshot eyes, pale skin. The stress rolled off him in waves. Next to him was Craig Donovan, his lawyer, young, slick, hair gelled back, and Dr. Stephen Walsh, sitting completely still, hands clasped so tight his knuckles were white. He kept dabbing his forehead, eyes darting toward the door. Terrified. Derek stopped pacing, leaned in to whisper to Donovan. I couldn't hear the words, but I knew. He's not here. It's 7:48. He's not coming. Then Derek spoke again, his voice a low rasp that carried. It's perfect. He's not here. Dr. Walsh went to his house, rang the bell for 20 minutes. No answer. The old man is gone. He's probably wandering around confused. This is better than the plan. He's a missing person. He's confused. He's a danger to himself. This proves our case. The judge will grant the petition. We'll have guardianship before 9 a.m. I felt Marcus's hand on my shoulder. Not yet, Rob. We wait for the judge. We let them commit. We let them lie to an officer of the court. All rise. The Honorable Judge Anderson presiding. 8 a.m. on the dot. Marcus straightened his tie. Showtime. We stood outside the heavy oak doors. Inside, I heard the sharp rap of the gavel. We are here for the emergency hearing regarding conservatorship of Robert Mitchell. Case number 774B. Is the petitioner, Mr. Derek Harrison, present? A new voice. Craig Donovan. Yes, Your Honor. Craig Donovan on behalf of Mr. Derek Harrison, who is present. False sympathy dripped from his voice. Your Honor, we are here under the most tragic circumstances. My client and his wife Jessica have been desperately trying to manage what can only be described as catastrophic and rapid mental decline in Mr. Mitchell. Catastrophic, rapid, the keywords from their email. We'd hoped to manage this privately, Your Honor, but last night a terrible incident occurred. Mr. Mitchell, in a fit of severe paranoia and confusion, violently attacked his own daughter at a public restaurant. A gasp from the gallery. He caused a massive scene and then fled. Fled, Mr. Donovan? He fled, Your Honor. He is as of this moment missing. Donovan was painting me as violent, senile, dangerous. My client is beside himself. He and his wife's physician, Dr. Stephen Walsh, who was present and ready to testify, rushed to Mr. Mitchell's home this morning for a wellness check. They found the house empty. Mr. Mitchell is gone. He's in the wind, with access to $45 million that he, in his current state, is incapable of managing. We fear he is a danger to himself. He let that sink in. We respectfully ask the court to grant emergency guardianship to my client so he can protect his father-in-law, secure his assets, and get him the medical help he desperately needs. The silence was heavy, respectful. Very serious allegations, Mr. Donovan. Given the assets involved and the fact that Mr. Mitchell is missing, that was our cue. Marcus didn't knock. He pushed the heavy door open. The thud echoed in the suddenly silent courtroom. I apologize for our tardiness, Your Honor. Marcus's voice boomed. It seems my client and I were given slightly incorrect information about the timing of this hearing. We stepped inside. Me first, Marcus at my shoulder. I was not in a bathrobe. I was not confused. I was wearing my custom suit. My hair was combed. My shoes were shined. My mind was a steel trap. I looked directly at Derek. The color drained from his face. It went waxy, translucent white. His jaw dropped open. Donovan spun around, his smug expression shattering. But Dr. Walsh, when he saw me, he made a small sound, a gasp of pure terror. He physically shrank, looking at Derek with wide eyes. You said he was confused. You said he was missing. I walked calmly to the defense table and sat down. Marcus sat next to me. We looked like we owned the place. We did. Mr. Donovan, the judge said, you said your client's father-in-law was missing. Donovan stammered. He just pointed a shaking finger at me. That. But he, Marcus said, standing smoothly, my name is Marcus Keller. I am Mr. Robert Mitchell's legal counsel. My client is right here. He is not confused. He is not missing. And he most certainly did not attack his daughter. He is, however, the victim of a depraved criminal conspiracy, and we are here to address it. Derek made a noise like a man being strangled. He sank into his chair, eyes locked on mine. The triumph was gone. All that was left was raw fear. Donovan looked struck. His mouth opened and closed. Judge Anderson leaned forward. "Mr. Donovan, you told this court your client's father-in-law was missing. He appears very much present. Would you care to explain?" Donovan ran a finger under his collar. "Your Honor, this is a shock. A pleasant one. We're overjoyed Mr. Mitchell is safe. This only proves our point. His erratic behavior, his disappearance, his sudden reappearance, it confirms the petition's urgency." He was trying to spin my arrival as more evidence of insanity. "We would like to call our first witness, a man who can speak directly to Mr. Mitchell's deteriorating mental state. We call Dr. Stephen Walsh." The bailiff called the name. Dr. Walsh flinched. He stood slowly, face slick with sweat. He looked at Derek. A silent, desperate plea. Derek's eyes promised murder if Walsh didn't follow the plan. Walsh took the stand. He was sworn in. His hand shook so badly he could barely keep it on the Bible. "Dr. Walsh," Donovan began, "you are Mr. Robert Mitchell's primary care physician. Is that correct?" Walsh cleared his throat. Yes. I have been consulting with him." "And in your professional opinion, what is Mr. Mitchell's current mental state?" This was it. Walsh had to commit. He looked at me just for a second, then quickly away. "Mr. Mitchell is in a state of severe decline," Walsh said, his voice reedy. "Classic signs of rapid onset dementia, paranoia, severe memory loss, agitation. He is deeply confused. In your opinion, is he capable of managing his own affairs?" "Absolutely not. He is a danger to himself, incapable of understanding complex financial matters, like the $45 million sale of a company. He would be highly susceptible to outside influence." "Thank you, Doctor. No further questions." "Just a moment." Marcus's voice cut through the room like a blade. He stood, not with aggression, but with lethal, polite curiosity. "I have a few questions for the doctor, Your Honor." Judge Anderson nodded. "Counselor." Marcus walked toward the witness stand, smiling. It was the most terrifying smile I'd ever seen. "Dr. Walsh, good morning. Marcus Keller, counsel for Mr. Mitchell. You've painted a very grim picture. You say you are Mr. Mitchell's primary care physician?" Yes. I have been overseeing his case." "Fascinating." Marcus pulled out a file. "Because I have Mr. Mitchell's complete medical history right here, going back 20 years. His actual primary care physician, Dr. Aris Patel, has been seeing him for 2 decades. His last physical 3 months ago declared him in perfect health for a man his age. Your name, Dr. Walsh, doesn't appear once. So let me rephrase. When did you begin overseeing his case?" Walsh was cornered. "It was a private consultation, at his son-in-law's request. Mr. Harrison was concerned." "Ah, Mr. Harrison was concerned. And when was this private consultation?" "I visited him at his home several times." "House calls. How old-fashioned. And when was the last time you saw him?" Walsh saw his opening. "This morning. I went to his home this morning at Mr. Harrison's request. He was deeply agitated, confused. He fled the house. He was yelling. It confirmed all my fears." "So you saw him this morning," Marcus said. "At his home?" "Yes, around 7 a.m. "That's remarkable," Marcus said, voice full of fake admiration. "Truly incredible. Because at 7 a.m., Dr. Walsh, Mr. Mitchell was sitting in my office, in my presence, perfectly calm, drinking coffee, and preparing for this very hearing. So I ask you again, Doctor, who exactly did you see this morning?" The blood drained from Walsh's face. He was caught in a direct, verifiable lie. I must have mistaken the time. It was... "Let's move on," Marcus said, waving dismissively. "Let's talk about your finances, Doctor. You mentioned you were concerned about Mr. Mitchell's. Are you concerned about your own?" Donovan jumped up. "Objection. Relevance, Your Honor." "Entirely relevant, Your Honor." Marcus boomed. It speaks directly to this witness's motive and credibility. Overruled, the judge snapped. Answer the question, doctor. Walsh was pale. I don't see what my personal finances. Don't you? Marcus walked to an easel and placed a large document, a bank statement. Do you recognize this account, doctor? Offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Your name? That's private. Not anymore. Marcus flipped the page. Payments. Bi-weekly payments from a shell corporation called DH Global Trading. Are you familiar with DH Global Trading, doctor? Walsh said nothing. Let me help. DH Global Trading is a shell company owned by Mr. Derek Harrison, your patient's son-in-law. He flipped to a summary sheet. For 6 months, Dr. Walsh, you've been receiving payments from Mr. Harrison into this account. The total, as of last week, is $180,000. The courtroom was silent. Derek looked like he was going to vomit. So, Dr. Walsh? Marcus's voice dropped to a quiet, lethal growl. I have 2 questions. First, is $180,000 your standard fee for treating senile paranoia? Walsh just shook his head. Second, Marcus moved closer. My investigator found this account is directly linked to several online sports betting sites. Is it true, Dr. Walsh, that you are over $180,000 in debt to Mr. Derek Harrison's personal bookie? Walsh broke. It wasn't a slow crumble. It was complete implosion. He let out a strangled sob. He owned me, he shrieked. He owned my debt. He said he'd ruin me, report me to the medical board. He told me the old man was already confused, said it would be easy. He was sobbing now. He gave me the vial, told me what to say. It was all him. He planned it all. He forced me. He collapsed forward, burying his face in his hands. The judge stared, aghast. Donovan slowly sat down, his case evaporating, and Derek just sat there, frozen, his mask gone, eyes wide and empty. But Derek wasn't finished. He wasn't going down easily. He leaped from his chair, face purple with rage. He pointed a shaking finger at me. He's lying, Derek shrieked. The doctor is lying. He's in on it with him. My father-in-law is the crazy one. He poisoned his own daughter. That's what happened. He attacked Jessica. He's senile. He's violent. Arrest him. He was unraveling, throwing mud everywhere. The courtroom was chaos. The bailiff shouted for order. Judge Anderson slammed his gavel. Silence! Silence in this courtroom. The room settled. The judge looked at sobbing Walsh. He looked at screaming Derek. And then he looked at me. I was the only one perfectly calm, hands folded on the table. Mr. Mitchell, Judge Anderson said, voice low and heavy. You have sat here and listened to extraordinary accusations. The petition says you are incompetent. The witness says he was paid to lie. And your son-in-law now accuses you of attempting to murder your own daughter. Do you have anything you would like to say? This was it. Marcus placed a reassuring hand on my arm. I stood slowly. I buttoned my jacket. I turned not just to the judge, but to the small audience. Yes, Your Honor, I do. My voice was calm, the voice of a CEO. The truth is always simpler than the lies, and the truth is this. I looked at Derek. His eyes were wide, burning with hate. My daughter Jessica did try to drug me last night. That is true. She poured a powder into my wine glass. A powder that Dr. Walsh here provided. A drug designed to make me appear confused, paranoid, and senile. I paused, but she made a mistake. She drank the wrong glass. A collective gasp went up from the gallery. That is the what, but the why. The why is more interesting, and it has everything to do with my son-in-law. I turned my full attention to Derek. Your Honor, my son-in-law orchestrated this entire thing, but his motives were misunderstood, even by me, until 6 this morning. I saw a flicker of new fear in Derek's eyes. He didn't do this just to get his hands on my $45 million. He did it because he was desperate. I let the word hang. For the last year, Mr. Harrison has been asking me strange questions about my company. Not about profits, about logistics, about my shipping containers, the ones we use to ship highly controlled biological compounds all over the world. Derek's face went from white to sickly green. I thought he was just curious, but he wasn't. He was using me. He was using my company's clean, federally approved shipping lanes to smuggle his own illegal goods into this country. Donovan, who'd been defeated, suddenly looked up, face a mask of terror. He clearly had no idea. My $45 million deal wasn't his goal, Your Honor. It was his problem, his death sentence. I looked back at the judge, because the moment I signed that sale, it triggered a mandatory IRS audit and FDA compliance review of every asset, every bank account, every single shipping manifest for the last 5 years. Reviews scheduled to begin December 1st. I turned back to Derek. He was shaking his head, whispering, "No, no, no." Derek knew he was finished. He knew the audit would expose him. He knew the FBI would be at his door. So he put his contingency plan into action. My voice resonated in the dead silent room. His plan was simple: drug his confused old father-in-law, have his paid-off doctor declare me senile, have his wife, my daughter, help him petition the court for emergency conservatorship, and once he had legal control of my $45 million, he was going to disappear. He was going to take my life's work and flee the country, leaving my daughter to take the fall for everything. That was when Derek snapped. It wasn't a word. It was a roar, a primal scream. "You old bastard!" He vaulted over the defense table, jacket flying, face purple, hands clawed, aiming for my throat. He was fast, but not fast enough. Before he'd even cleared the table, 2 men in the back row stood. They weren't bailiffs. They were tall, fit, wearing suits that didn't come from department stores. They moved with terrifying speed, intercepting Derek midair, tackling him to the ground. "No! Let me go! I'll kill him!" he screamed, spittle flying. One of the men yanked Derek's arms behind his back. Click, 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 handcuffs. The other stood, brushing off his jacket, and held up a badge. Special Agent Frank Morrison, FBI. Mr. Keller contacted our office at 6:30 this morning. We were here to observe testimony regarding the federal audit. He nodded to his partner, who was hauling a screaming Derek to his feet. "Derek Harrison, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, interstate smuggling, and bribery of a medical official. You have the right to remain silent." I just stood there, watching. I looked at Dr. Walsh, sobbing on the stand. I looked at Derek, a ruined, screaming animal being dragged out. I looked at Marcus, calmly packing his briefcase. The war was over, and I had won. The emergency room chaos had subsided. Now Jessica was in a private room on the 4th floor, the psychiatric ward. A police officer sat outside her door. He recognized me from the news and nodded, letting me pass. I pushed the door open. She was sitting up in the hospital bed, bathed in harsh afternoon light. The IV was still taped to her arm. Her face was pale and blotchy, her hair tangled. The television in the corner was on, volume low. A news anchor was speaking urgently. Being led out of the courthouse in handcuffs, Derek Harrison, son-in-law of Robert Mitchell, has been arrested on federal smuggling and fraud charges. They were showing the footage. Derek tackling me, the FBI taking him down. Jessica was watching, her whole body shaking, silent tears streaming down her face. She looked up as I entered. Her eyes were wide, not with guilt, but with the terror of being caught. "Dad," she whispered, voice broken. "Dad, what happened? I just woke up. I saw this. Derek, what did they do to him?" She was lying, even now. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I felt nothing but profound, bone-deep tiredness. I walked to the window and stood looking down at the city traffic. "They arrested him, Jessica." "But why?" she sobbed. "Smuggling? Fraud? I don't understand." Dad, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I turned to look at her. Her beautiful face, so much like her mother's, was twisted into deceit. And for the first time, I saw her clearly. Not as my daughter, but as his accomplice. You knew, Jessica, I said quietly, but it cut through her sobs like a razor. She stopped crying, breath hitching. What? You knew. You didn't know about the smuggling, I'll give you that. But you knew about the rest. No, Dad, You knew you were going to drug me. You knew you were going to a hearing this morning to have me declared insane. You knew Dr. Walsh was a fraud. You knew you were helping your husband steal $45 million from your father. You knew that. She stared at me, eyes wide with panic. You chose him, Jessica. I spent 40 years building a life for us. He spent 6 months whispering poison in your ear. And you chose him. You chose the money. It wasn't like that, she pleaded, tears now real. He convinced me. He said you were losing it. He said you were going to lose the money. He said it was the only way to protect you. And you believed him? You believed the man who couldn't hold a job over the father who gave you the world? You believed him so much that you were the one who held the vial. You were the one who poured it into my glass. She had no answer. She just crumpled, folding in on herself. I stood there for a long time, watching my daughter cry. You want to know why I did it, Dad? Jessica suddenly said, voice raw. You were never there. Mom got cancer and you got busier. You missed my graduation for an FDA meeting. You forgot my 30th birthday because of an acquisition call. Derek was the first person in 10 years who made me feel like I mattered more than Mitchell Biosystems. So when he said we deserved that money, that you owed it to me for all those missing years, I believed him. I'm not saying it was right, but don't act like you were father of the year. Her words hit like physical blows. Because they were true. I had chosen work over family. I had missed moments I could never get back. You're right, Jessica, I said quietly. I wasn't there. I failed you in ways that matter. But that doesn't give you the right to try to erase my mind and steal my life's work. I walked to the chair and sat down. I am going to use my money to fix this. I'm hiring the best legal team in the country. They'll argue you were coerced, manipulated, that you suffered a temporary break. They'll keep you out of prison. I saw hope flicker in her eyes. But, I said, and that word sucked the air out. The $45 million is in a trust, my trust. You will never see a cent. No allowance, no credit card, no new car. You will have nothing. For the first time in your life, you'll be truly poor. But how will I live? You'll work, minimum wage, and you'll learn what it means to earn your own money. Your new boss will be here when you're discharged. Who? I just looked at her. I didn't answer. Goodbye, Jessica. I left her there, sobbing. 6 months later, I was in my ranch house. Afternoon sun streamed through the windows, illuminating dust motes. I was sitting in Catherine's old armchair, reading. I was finally at peace. The doorbell rang. It was Tyler Brooks. He was no longer wearing a waiter's uniform. He was in a sharp suit, carrying a leather briefcase. He was now my executive assistant, earning $65,000 a year and learning the business. Mr. Mitchell, how are things? The markets are stable, the foundation funding is secure, and I have the first report from the shelter. The shelter, the one I'd funded with $5 million, a place for people with nowhere else to go. And? Tyler looked down. Jessica Mitchell Harrison completed her first full month, night, shift, sanitation detail. Her supervisor says she's learning. Good, I said. I meant it. After Tyler left, the house was quiet. The same hollow silence I'd lived with since Catherine died. I walked to her chair, picked up her journal. Outside, the oak tree we'd planted together was beginning to bloom. I'd won. I'd saved my fortune, destroyed the conspiracy, even given Jessica a path back. But I'd lost my daughter long before Derek Harrison ever knocked on our door. I'd lost her to late meetings and missed birthdays in 40 years of choosing Mitchell Biosystems over Mitchell family. Catherine had seen it. She'd tried to warn me. "I'm sorry, Kathy," I whispered to the empty room. "I'm trying to fix it, but some things stay broken." The tree bloomed anyway. Life goes on. Some victories feel a lot like losses.